Welcome to Crimepedia. My name's Cherry. I am your host for this week. And this week it's slightly different. This week we have a live episode for you from CrimeCon UK, which happened last weekend. So Morgan, the co-host, I've heard that so many times this weekend, the co-host, was in America and obviously couldn't make it over for CrimeCon. So we did a live episode, unfortunately without him, where we interviewed a lady called Keisha McLeod. And this case is a case that I've been following for over a year.
We've talked about it for quite a bit.
Yeah, a long time. And so, CrimeCon happened. It was a good weekend. If you've never been to a CrimeCon before, which probably most English people haven't, if you come over and you go next year, you'll get to see what all the fuss was about. There's lots of interactive stuff to do. You can have a look at a crime scene where you can see if you can deduce what happened. You can meet speakers. There were lots of police personnel from different cases there, detectives. There were police dogs.
I saw the police dog. What was his name? Everyone loved him.
They had two. They had a girl and a boy.
They had two.
Yes, they had two. And I think they hid drugs among the audience members and then let the dogs go and find the drugs, it was so clever. So clever.
Can you imagine if they did that and whoever they gave the drugs to just took off?
Yeah.
They're mine now.
I think it was small amounts. I don't think it was anything worth stealing. I think it was all right. But so and we've just been told that it's going to be happening again next year, 11th and 12th of June at the same place, so at the Leonardo St. Paul's in London. And tickets will be available, I think, this week.
And you can use our promo code Crimepedia if you're interested in going, and you get a nice little discount off your tickets.
Yeah, which is good. So make sure you use that because everybody loves a discount.
And I would say that if you are planning on going or thinking about going, you should probably get your tickets early before ticket prices increase. So the cheapest they're going to be right now. So, and right now as in October 2021. So if you're listening to this in the future, prices have gone up.
Yeah.
Or the event's over.
There's also a payment plan this year because I think last year you couldn't do, or this year, sorry, you couldn't do a payment plan. So for next year's, I think they've split it up so it's a bit more affordable to do it in a payment plan, but they're giving you sort of as much notice as possible so that you can plan ahead because most people have got kids and busy and work and stuff. So, but the hotel was lush, like the bed in the hotel. I know this is, but I told everybody about this. The bed was the most comfortable bed I've ever slept in ever. So much so that I'm going to see if I can request the same room next year. It was so nice. So good.
I thought, weren't you you're kind of far away from everything too, though?
I was I was right out the way of everything. So I think Colin Sutton and I were on the same floor. And we were way away from everybody else. It was so nice, but it was so quiet. But because it's right near St. Paul's Cathedral, and as soon as the bells start ringing, you can hear all the bells ringing, and it's really nice. It's really nice.
Oh,
it's a good hotel. So if you're going to go and stay over, it's a really nice hotel. And there's 3 floors of CrimeCon stuff to look through.
I'm still really sad I was unable to make it.
Well, it's not long. It's less than 9 months until the next CrimeCon. Until we go to Vegas. And then a month later, we're in London again.
London, yeah.
So we're going to see each other twice in 2 months. It's going to be crazy.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, isn't it? I'm really looking forward to introducing you to all the other podcasters as well. So
yeah.
You
can actually see me and not my picture.
So many people. I kept the picture for you. So many people were looking at your picture. We've got an update. Obviously, everybody that's been listening, especially if you're in Britain, this week, Wayne Couzens, the police officer, was handed a whole life order for the rape, kidnap and responsibility of death of Sarah Everard in London. Mm-hmm. This case is just sickening. It's caused an absolute uproar amongst literally everybody everywhere. It's a despicable. I mean, she's 33 years old. And I think out of everything that I've read and everything that I've seen, Sarah Everard's mum's victim impact statement is the most upsetting and horrendous thing I've ever read in my life. It was so sad. So sad. And to think that just because he perversely felt like the things he wanted to do to Sarah, he thought he had the right to do that. And it's just disgusting the way he used his position to trick her into thinking that she had caused some sort of COVID breach and then to do that to her. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. Well, my question for you, I don't know if anything's come out, but is she his only victim? It doesn't seem like this is his first time.
I mean, this is
You know
the
what I
thing.
mean?
The first victim that we know of, but now I'm sure things are going to come ahead, and we'll just see. I mean, if it's his first victim, it's a horrendous way to start things, and so much planning went into this. I mean, the planning of it. You can see the videos online of him casually going and buying a coffee while she was in the car, and it's disgusting. And I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to be in prison now, and I honestly think that the prison justice will take care of this. I think there's even honor among thieves, and that kind of behavior against a woman is not tolerated in prison. And so I hope that, I know you shouldn't wish things like that on people, but the guy deserves nothing less.
And you said that it's a life sentence, and you said this is not normal for the British legal system, which is crazy
not
to
a
me.
whole life sentence, not like that. He's a dangerous, despicable man, so they can't let him out. I think they would have been absolute uproar if they had given him any less than a whole life order. There's not very many people in Britain that have been given whole life orders. So I'm glad he's one of the ones that were.
That's crazy. So crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then people have now, there's been other reports of other people saying like, oh, she should have waved a bus down. Well, buses don't stop for women that wave in London.
No.
They don't. You can wave all you like. They won't stop for you. So it's absolute rubbish. She shouldn't have had to wave down a bus. She shouldn't have had to do anything. He shouldn't have been doing what he was doing. It's not her fault at all.
Such a shame.
Yeah, really awful.
All right, Jerry. So before we get into this week's episode or the live show, why don't you tell us a little bit about CJ Davis in this case?
Okay, so I've been looking at this case over a year ago, and it's a case of a 14-year-old boy who was shot in a playground in East London on the 4th of September in 2017. Now, this boy, when you look at this, I think we all would do that. The typical thing of thinking, it's a troublesome young lad who was in a gang that got caught up in gang rivalry. And it's so not the case. In this case, it's really not what you first think. CJ came from a loving family. He came from a family that supported him, that rallied for him. He had ADHD, but only slightly. So he was only slightly with ADHD. He was a vulnerable boy, and this boy was failed multiple times by different agencies within his life. And his mum fought and fought and fought for change to try and help him, to try and get him to school safely, get him home from school safely. And he was groomed by a gang. And you'll hear from the episode, we speak to Martyn Linton, who is a gangs expert. He's a lecturer of the way that gangs work. And he was in a gang when he was younger, but he turned his life around. And he explains to me how this happens, how kids are groomed into gangs like this. And you hear from CJ's mum, Keisha, how it happened at home, how she started to notice things were changing and what needs changing for the future. And it's a really, really emotional episode. It is, so I warn you now, it's a very emotional episode.
Oh, thank you all for joining us. So my name's Cherry, and I am I'm a co-host of a podcast called Crimepedia, and we predominantly cover cold cases or cases that need a bit more help, cases of missing people and that kind of thing. And I first came across CJ's case about a year ago. And the main reason that this case spoke out to me was because of Keisha, CJ's mum. She is the strongest and most amazing woman I think you'll ever meet. She has campaigned tirelessly after losing her son for a change, for things for better. And I think 3 words that straight away just come out to me was determination, courage, and she's just badass, complete badass lady. So I would like to welcome her today. And I've also got Martyn Linton, who is a gang lecturer, who's also going to talk to us about how gangs work. And he was part of a gang when he was younger, now not, now police officer. So he's on the good side now. So CJ was 14 years old.
Yep.
And he loved his dance.
Yes, he did.
Loved his football.
Yep.
Really cheeky face, really cheeky guy. And I want to talk to you first about him, about the CJ the son, CJ the brother. So what was he like?
First and foremost, thank you for making me be here and allowing me to speak on my son. Hello, everybody. CJ, just like this is my daughter as well here, just to let you know. I'm a mother first. I worked within local authority for 20 years doing council tax, a debt we all hate, but something we all have to pay. So just to give you a bit of understanding about myself, CJ was a child that just, from he smiled, I just don't know. He was my little double. So everything I could do to make him have a good start in life is what I tried. I say it like that because through primary school, we started seeing that CJ was full of energy. Like, he has so much energy. To me, I'm just thinking he's a boy. I've got a daughter already, so I don't know the difference. I didn't know the dynamics of what it is to have a child. So I just thought, hobbies, what do you do? Football, dance, anything that can use up energy. So I got him into football first of all, I got him into ice skating from he was 3.
Yeah.
So I used to do private lessons of that, and he was fearless. He would just go skating on the ice. And I was like, okay, he's got that, that go in him. So we then started, there was on TV, do you remember the group Diversity?
Yeah.
Right, so they was actually round the corner from me, and I trained in a local gym around the corner, so I knew that I could get to speak to somebody in there. And they was like, yeah, we've got a vacancy, we can get him in here.
Brilliant.
Auditioned, got in there, and he was with Diversity for 3 years, training on street dance. But with that, it was like I couldn't see him getting any further.
Right.
So I thought, I went to theatre school when I was young, so I thought, let me try get him into there, because he just had so much energy.
Yeah.
So I got him doing dancing, drama, singing, to the point that he was able to go to audition for Lion King and another one beginning with M. I can't remember right now. Yeah. But my cousin's also in my Lion King, so it was like, yeah, can you get him in the door? But he was really just too shy at that time. But my point is, he was always that child. He wasn't scared of it. He wasn't scared to do anything. So around 8, 9, in primary school, they said, well, we think that he might be on the spectrum of having ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And I was just like, okay. And we did the necessary checks. They did about 4 different ones. Mostly it's observing. There's nothing that we can physically do apart from take scans of a brain, which costs a lot of money, to see what the chemical imbalance and stuff like that is. We realised he was on the very low spectrum of having ADHD. Then it came to a fact of, I'm going to come from a West Indian family. If a child doesn't do what you say, it's always just like we reprimand them, around the head. That's the way it goes. Yeah. So I then had the fight with trying to explain to my family what ADHD is. We've got to realise we're in a time now that ADHD is mostly recognised from the 80s, but it's now in the 2000s where we're seeing that there is things that you can, how you can manage it, you can be medicated for it and stuff like that. So I had to bring my family on board. It was literally a tug of war to making him feel like he's a bad child, because that's another thing. We say words and we don't realise how much they mean to a child. And that's one thing I saw with him. When he heard that word bad or, oh, be a good boy today, he'd always want to be a good boy. Yeah. And that's really not what we should be putting in a child's head. He's not a bad boy. You're not a bad boy. You're just a child. You're going through life. But when you've been given a label, this is what happens. So in primary school, very nurturing, very understanding. I didn't have any issues with how he was being educated. He was above average for maths and English. Couldn't wait to do scientific kind of things. So it was just like, for me, it was just watching a flower bloom. And then he went to secondary school and everything changed. And I started seeing him get low self-esteem. Right. And for me, that was the most hurting thing, like to watch a child start look at themselves differently because of a label. Yeah. To me, I saw him as full of beans, and that's all I've always tried to show him. We made a book in primary school about all the people, rich and famous people that have ADHD. So I went with
there's loads.
Richard Branson.
Yeah.
We've got Will Smith. We've got Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
All successful people.
All successful and in different realms, different fields. And this is what I've shown. It doesn't hold you back. It just makes you unique. Yeah. And that's what I was teaching him. But on the other side, when you get taken into a place where he's 35 hours of a week, in a place being told, okay, you're not supposed to do that. You don't feel unique. No. You don't feel unique at all. You just feel like, I'm being singled out. How can I not be this singled out? Yeah. And my son's a person, as a character, he's a charmer. He's a good-looking boy. I'm going to say it as he is. He will try and be like, he's a helper first.
He's cheeky, isn't he?
He's cheeky.
Yeah, I'm not. He
had me wrapped around his finger, but he's a person, like, if he can get along with the teacher, he's going to be teacher's pet and like try and do. But he can also be disruptive, because if he doesn't understand something, he's now going to try and talk to his mate. Yeah. Or he's going to try and talk to that girl. And those are the things that was getting him in trouble once he got to secondary school.
The thing that
That
I
didn't
liked
happen
about
in
with
primary.
you, I think for me that really spoke out to me is I remember seeing you say you're the first person to admit your son wasn't an angel.
No,
you're
he
the
wasn't.
first person to sit there and say he wasn't good all the time. Sometimes he was a little bugger, because that's from a mum's point of view.
Of course.
And so then when you get this sort of outside influence, and I wanted to talk to you a bit about how did you notice that things were starting to get to the point where you were starting to get a bit worried about what was going on home life with him.
Yeah, that was really easy to see, because again, the relationship that we had, we was always talking. He was very open about what was going on for him in school, and if he didn't understand, I was his voice speak.
Yeah.
I was his vocal point piece. So if anything wasn't happening for him, just like I would say to the school, if he's doing something that he's not supposed to be doing, call me. I'll be down here. We'll sort this out together.
Yeah.
So that's how my relationship was. I was always listening to the school and listening to him. So when I looked at him and he's now talking to me and saying things that being rude for no apparent reason, I'm like, who is this child?
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Those are the things that you look out for. You can tell there's signs that you feel like somebody said something to him that just isn't a part of his normal nature.
Yeah.
Like, who's he around? So then I'll be like, because one of the things as a mum, you try to know all your children's friends.
Of course you do, that's right.
Yeah, you try to understand who they're around. You can't obviously say you can't be friends with that person, because if you say that, it's going to be friends with that person.
Yeah, of course.
But you can keep your eye on those things, and that's the type of mother I was. And again, if he makes a friend, okay, you've made that friend. Where do they live? What's
Who's
their
their mum and
parents?
dad? Yeah.
That was my journey.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
how it was with him. And so when I'm hearing about a person that I don't know of, I want to know that person. And if you don't want to show me that person, that means that person's not a good person for you. And you know that in the back of your heart.
Yeah.
So let me try and talk you out of thinking that way. Yeah, because if you're willing to keep somebody away from me, there's a problem.
There's a problem. So what, how did it work? How did this happen? Was it someone from school? Was it people from outside? Youth club? Like,
so
what kind of stuff was it?
This is why I talk on the education system so much, because it's basically a route that I didn't push him through. I didn't show him this route, and it all became because of his ADHD and how that was now the biggest thing. But the way that we deal with him behavioural wise is as a normal child would be reprimanded, and we can't do that because ADHD shows up in behaviours.
Yeah.
We can't now reprimand him for those behaviours. We can't now say, okay, you can't do sports. You can't, if you're good at maths, well, we're not going to let you go and be the junior champion for it. He was good at, there was so many things he was growing through. They stopped all of that. So everything that he's getting good at, you're stopping at. He's now thinking, where do I go? Like, the school's not helping me. And then a situation happened at school. He was there. They already given him 2 warnings. We've had all these accumulation. They done a cumulative list of everything that's he's been done, and they just said, well, we just want to get rid of him, basically.
Yeah, okay.
But the way we're going to do this is not by saying you can do a managed move, because I wanted to do a managed move for him.
Yeah.
But I listened to the school, and they said put him into a PRU, which is a pupil referral unit, for 6 weeks, and then he'll be able to go into another school. Listen to the school, fault fine. Not did I know that him going to this pupil referral unit, the same behavioural issues are going to come about, because he's going to still speak to people in the class, try and disrupt others, because he's not learning, he's not being able to comprehend what's going on. And every time he tries to put up his hand, okay, I'll give you a different scenario. CJ, from 10 to 11, he still had bedwetting problems. So he would be a boy that would just, I want to go to the toilet.
He's shaking his head at you now.
Yeah, no. But
like,
he'd be,
Mum.
I want to go to the toilet. And then the teacher saying, no, ends up wetting himself.
Yeah.
So now he's embarrassed.
Yeah, of
So
course.
any of those
He's gonna
times.
act up.
So the point is, he never wants that to happen again.
Yeah.
So he would just walk out of class.
Right.
So now you're being rude, or you're disregarding what your teacher's saying to you, because of a situation that's occurred for you, but they're not seeing it in the same light as how he's seeing it.
Yeah.
He's seeing it as an embarrassment. All my friends are seeing me as, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So these are the little things that accumulatedly got him in trouble. So I'm saying he's never got in fights.
No.
He wasn't a child that would swear at teachers. He wasn't a person that would throw things at anybody.
He wasn't violent.
Not
No.
violent. He was just a cheeky chap that just had a number of things. He was in school for 1.5 years. So we're talking about 4 terms. How can we allow a child to go from 4 terms? Anyway, so we ended up in a PRU. Whole different kettle of fish. You've got a different type of children's, different actual needs that they have. Some with ADHD, some with autism, some that are just outright bad, and that you don't want them around anyway. And now these children are socialising with yours.
Yeah.
He's seeing different things that I wouldn't see.
Yeah.
I'm finding out after the fact.
It's too late then. Yeah.
I'll give you an incident. There was a gun taken into the school. The way I found out is that the police came down, and because this gun was now used in a crime, it had CJ's fingerprints on it. So they came to the school to see how that happened. A boy brought it in, and at the lunch table, you seen him at the desk holding it.
Yeah.
But the whole point of it is, when it happened, nobody's called me and told me this. It's only now, because the police have had to come to the school, that I know.
You knew.
How dare you?
Yeah.
That's my child that was being put in danger.
With a gun.
And I've got now, he's supposed to continue going to this school.
Yeah.
So that shows you the type of people he's socialising them with.
Yeah.
The type of people socialising, he saw on TV.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing that, you don't meet these people.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now he's just like inquisitive.
Yeah.
But don't know how to go. No guidance, because I've put him into this elf. You realise
Trust in it. You trust
this
in
is a school system. This is something that he feels like is right. Only reason why he knows it's wrong is when people coming down and saying, well, that shouldn't have happened, or
That's
X, Y, Z. Okay. Long story short, he was there for about 7 months. This is supposed to be a 6 weeks period. But because of his behaviour and the different things that was going on in there, it went on for quite some time, to the point that there's other boys that are coming outside this school, meeting the other boys inside the school.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is where grooming now happens.
Yeah.
You meet outside. They'll be walking to the bus stop, because at first I used to pick him up, but then I started working again. So he'd get a bus home, and this school wasn't around the corner. His original school was 5 minutes away. This is like to a different area within Newham, and Newham has a very big problem right now in regards to gangs.
Yeah.
This is where my
Martyn,
friend here will come in here. There's different sides. There's like about 3 or 4 different gangs within one area, one borough. And he was having to go to the opposite side gang to where we live.
Right. Okay.
So now he's associated with both sides.
With both sides. Yeah. Okay.
He doesn't know that yet.
No, of course he's 14.
He's just a kid trying to make friends. Anyway, going to shops. This is how I'm hearing of it afterwards. Do you want something in the shop? They go in the shop. Do you want a chip? It'll start with a can of drink, packet of crisp. Then it'll be chicken and chips, and then they'll be like, "Oh, do you want to make some money?
Yeah.
Make some money. Who's not going to say no? Okay, hold this for me.
Yeah.
And then it would be drugs, just like that.
Yeah. And so the drugs point
Just
of it
like
is
that.
what I wanted to talk to you about, because. So let me just explain. So CJ called you one day and said, "Mum, they've given me this." This just goes to the relationship. So the relationship between the two of them. He rings her and says, "Mum, they've given me drugs." So she does exactly what I would do and goes, "Right, I'm not having that." So she goes out there, takes the drugs and flushes them down the toilet. And I was just like, that's exactly what I would do. Exactly the same thing I would do. Like, that's my kid. I don't care what gang you're from. You are not going anywhere near my kid again. Like, I'm not having it. And so that was one of the first things I read about Keisha. And so that must have been so scary for you to have your son ring you and say, "Mum," that's good that you guys had that relationship, that he could ring you and say, that's testament to the relationship you guys had.
It is, but it's also upsetting that he was put in that
Definitely
in that realm.
Yeah.
So again, he phoned me. So grateful for that phone call.
Yeah.
Where are you is all I remember. He said he was in Maryland, which is like 5 minutes away. At that time, I didn't have a car. So I Uber, need a friend with me, a guy friend.
Yeah.
Right, got the Uber. I was telling the Uber driver as I'm driving, this is what's happening. Oh my God, my son's from this area. I've got 2 boys. I said, yeah, get them out.
Yeah.
I'm just just get them out. I don't care. You don't want this area is not for me. I'll explain even more why I say that, because I actually wanted to live in this area. So it was not like it's not like I was happy not living it. I bidded and tried and went to my MP and everything saying, why am I still bidding for a property? But I'll explain that in a minute. And I found him riding down a road. CJ called out of the window, got the cab, paid the cab, told him to go behind a bush, showed me what's in this rucksack. Such a light rucksack. See all these kids with the rucksacks on their back. Opened it, and there was about nearly £700 worth of crack and heroin.
Jeez.
My heart sank.
Yeah, of course.
Because I've never seen that before in my life.
No.
But my little boy, that's 13, he wasn't 14 yet.
No.
Had that on him. I took it. I told him to ride his bike home. It was 5 minutes round the corner. I'm with my friend and I'm running behind him. I don't know where I've got the energy from, but I've got it. I'm going. Got home. I watched him put his bike round the back. He got upstairs. I hugged him. I hugged him so tightly. I'm going to try to keep myself together.
Yeah, no worries.
I hugged him so tightly because I was so proud of him calling me.
Yeah.
To tell me.
Yeah.
He knew he was out of his depth.
Definitely.
And he knew that if anybody's got my back, my mum's got my back.
Yeah.
And I did. And I just thought, right, this is the time where I have to now show him right and wrong. What do? You flush that. You show him that this is not the life for him. What we've been going on with is what's right. But I'm now realising I can't listen to this school system no more.
No.
I've been trying to follow through with what they said as the right ways, chains of actions for him, and it's not going. So the next day I called the school, told them the scenario, never going back, told the police. Again, I'm one that I was doing everything that I physically saw as right. And I was hoping that there'll be change. So he was like homeschooled for about 8 weeks. I never knew they had a facility as homeschooling. I was like, we could do that. Yes. He doesn't. I don't want him to go out
near
anymore.
anyone. That's right. Yeah.
I don't want him outside anymore. Just leave him inside. Lock the door. I'm fine.
Yeah.
He was doing that, and I just thought he wanted to play out, and I was like, nah. No, Mum, nah. And I'm getting back and forth with him, arguing, and I'm just
Can't
like...
keep him in, can you?
No, and then he tried to... I had one of those doors that you can just basically unlock it from... It's not like a key lock.
Yeah.
You can still unlock it. So there was one day, about 2 weeks after this whole drugs event, he wants to go out. I'm not letting him out. I said, you know what, if you think you're going out that door, I'm calling mum, dad, uncle, nephew, and the police, and let's see how you're going to get out this door.
Yeah.
So said, so done. I called mum, dad, uncle, nephew, police, everything, because he thought he was getting out that door, and he wasn't.
And your mum's like a bit of a force to be reckoned
Oh
with
my
too,
God,
isn't
she's
she?
a Christian.
Scary
she's something,
mum.
yeah, very scary, because I remember, and she was just like, she wasn't having none of it. So everybody came down. My mum was like, you're going into social services. We're trying to do all the scare tactics that we can, yeah? Just to try and make him feel like, come on, like, we're your family. Where you going?
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm not going social services. My brother's like, oh, you whatever you lot, he's coming with me. I was like, yeah, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Right, so he's going with my brother, which is South London, totally out of the area. Can breathe, because I'm originally from South London. So this is East London that we're living in. South London, he's down there for 8 months. Absolutely fine.
No problems.
No problem.
Good boy,
in this period of time, I'm speaking with my housing, social services, the police, letting them know everything. Ask them, can we get a move now? Because you can see how detrimental it is. They said they've agreed. They agreed that we get a move in that March. Because so this happened November 2016. March 2017, they authorised the move. June of that year, that's how long, he was at my brother's, so from November to June. I got a letter from my housing association saying that we had a property. I phoned CJ and I said, CJ, we've got a letter. He came, sorry, I've got to go one step back. It was the summer holidays. Him and my brothers had an argument. He's rallied round to my dad's house, 5 minutes away from me, sitting on my dad's lap, said, tell mummy that I can stay in her old room because he wants to basically be back in the area.
Yeah.
And it was summer holidays and I was studying at the time. So I said, okay, this gives us time to do things together.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, you can stay here, whatever. I wasn't really trying to think on that right now because I'm expecting daddy be on my side, but daddy's like, yes, he can stay. It's fine.
Good old
like,
dad.
Oh.
Cheers, dad.
Yeah, and dad has been always the person that's picked him up from nursery, primary school, and
Yeah, they were
secondary
close,
school.
weren't they?
Yeah, they were very, very close
Yeah.
while I was working. So their relationship was great. And again, it's another father figure. So it was another male figure. It wasn't like he was going to an area that I wouldn't be happy with. So just saying, from there, 5 days later, I got a letter saying that property should never have been given to me.
Oh.
Right. So, and we was moving out of the area. It was going to be in Essex. We was happy. When he got the letter, he went online, looked at Street View, started looking for schools.
Oh, bless him.
A child starts looking for schools.
Yeah.
I want to go back. I want to be a normal child. I found a letter after he passed away, him saying, I just want to be a normal child, Mum. Sorry for all the arguments that we used to go through. I just want to be a normal child.
Yeah.
He was a normal child.
He was a normal child. Of course he was.
He just had different things as in his DNA, and how dare we make him feel
like he wasn't normal. Less. Yeah.
So after he saw that letter, he rode back to my dad's, and I could just see, I saw his light dim. I say that because I've seen it. I can see it happen in children when they don't think people believe in them. You just see a light above them dim, and it's like they're desensitized to a lot of things. So I just had to keep him on board. In that time, he's back in the area. He's met new friends. They're 17. CJ, you're 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all right. They smoke weed. Oh, Mum, when did you start smoking weed? Don't ask me that. It's none of your business. You're 13. Your brain doesn't start working until you're 23 years old.
Yeah.
When I'm telling you about situations I've been through, is to educate you.
Yeah.
Not to feel like you can put yourself in comparison to me. Anyway, so I realised this is his explanation. I'll say this because I'm trying to tell you the good with the bad. He said smoking now, because that when he was medicated, he used to get really low. He used to hear voices in his head because it all goes with your body weight and stuff. So if you've got too much in you, there can be bad side effects.
Right.
To the point he heard voices and wanted to hurt himself. That's a part I've tried to just cover over. When he smoked the weed, he mellowed.
Yeah.
So there is actual research about CBD oil and how it mellows you.
Yeah.
And this actually, as much as it was sad, he used to stutter. When he started smoking the weed from that June, he stopped stuttering.
Right.
And I'm seeing this and I'm like, I'm not arguing with you about this. I don't want you smoking it.
No.
But I'm not with you 24/7.
That's right.
So I realised this is what this new friend has got him onto. It's better than the drug selling.
Yeah.
It's better than walking in the street. So I'm just like weighing up my options right now.
Of course, yeah.
However, the day of his passing, that's who he was with.
Right.
And that's the reason that person is in a gang. They're in a park. CJ was walking to go to a shop. He saw them, sat down with them for a while. In that moment, somebody's come past because rival to the friend that he's with, and CJ's been shot in the head and didn't survive that. And this is where I am right now.
Yeah.
So it's like CJ was on the cusps of grooming.
Yeah.
I got him back.
Yeah.
And then he came back into the era and I lost him. But the whole reason of why all this started was because of, for me, is what was going on in school. And that's why I advocate about how transition from year 6 to year 7 is so important.
Yeah.
And how legislation around that has to change. And especially around PRUs and the length of time that we're keeping children within this system.
Yeah.
Because everybody deserves an education.
Of course.
Everybody deserves a correct start.
Yeah.
And he didn't have one. And I'm going to keep on speaking on that.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
I told you she was amazing, didn't I? So Martyn is a gangs lecturer. And you've just got like this amazing wealth of knowledge across the whole board of policing and gangs. And so you were in a gang yourself when you were younger.
Yeah, so things started to go bad towards the tail end of 12, 13. And it's interesting what you've just said about that transition from year 6 to 7, because that was bad for me as well. And I also ended up getting expelled from school, which for me was great. I don't need to truant. I've got a legitimate reason for being out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's important there. But, things went downhill from there. But it's thanks to a few interventions, really, and sadly an incident that sort of shook me up a little bit.
Yeah.
That I went, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And then I went out and I've worked ever since then. Yes, I went into policing. I've trained over in the US. I've ridden with gang enforcement units over there. I've taught cops from across the world on sort of gang tactics.
Yeah.
And I'm doing more now. I actually run webinars and write e-courses and things and do face-to-face training with agencies around the prevention side of things.
Yeah.
So that's, in summary, I've sort of sat on both fences, if you
You
like.
have, yeah. So I wanted to ask you, so I was reading in London, just like in May this year, there was a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old that was stabbed and shot. And this is, I mean, they're like young kids that are involved in this kind of stuff. And so I wondered, like, what's the process with something like this? So you've got like an ordinary kid, comes from a really good background. How does the gangs, how does this happen? How do they select which kids, or how do they do this?
I could talk about this for a week, so I'm going to have to sort of really trim this down. The first point I've got to say is it's really detailed and a really complex
It's very
thing.
sophisticated.
Honestly, it's so interwebbed, so I'm going to have to sort of really, really skim over this.
But if
definitely. Anyone wants to know
you.
more, speak to me afterwards or come and do a session or something that I run.
Yeah.
So you've got to... I think it's important to say that the issues that you've highlighted, they're happening all over the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just a UK
London.
problem.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, not just a London
No.
problem. And you know, the similar incidents overseas that you'll get. So there's different types of gangs. Now, if I was to ask everybody in the room what is a gang, 90% would say they would think of the criminal gang.
Yeah.
And that's they're not wrong. But the other 10% are your hate groups, your outlaw motorcycle gangs, football firms that meet up for a punch up. They're all bound by a common purpose, and it's a group of people.
Yeah.
So for simplicity, let's stick with the criminal gangs. But a lot of the recruitment tactics can be similar for hate groups and other things as well. So,
Right.
So one of the things I teach professionals is somebody starting to display odd behaviour, radicalisation. If you're going to look at terrorism, the interventions are going to be sort of very, very similar.
Right.
Okay, so the behaviour is obviously the one thing, and then if we're looking at the criminal gangs, they will look at vulnerable people. They will pick people that are in poverty. They will pick people who are or have some learning disabilities, and this is one thing that I do. And again, what's been said about ADHD, one of the things I do with the training I do is teach people on that, because if you are dealing with somebody and you're trying to get them out of that situation and they have a condition like that, it's important that you understand that condition.
Definitely.
Because it's simple, it's common sense. How you communicate with people it's not a uniform approach.
No.
And some people, you'll have to change your communication to be able to speak to people.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a condition like ADHD, you need to understand it. And if you don't, you really, really need to do a course on something.
Yeah.
So that's the key thing. How people are groomed can be a multitude of different ways.
Okay.
There are the story that we've had here, the starting. It's in the same way you hear of child sex offenders and how they groom thing and how it's the trust building. There's the trust building and then it escalates. That's in its simplest form. I mean, it's a lot more complex than that, but time's against us.
Yeah.
You'll have people who are exploited. So I've dealt with people who've been, they've got heroin addiction, and all of a sudden now there's a debt, and now you need to work that debt off for me, and they'll get them to start carrying. And it's important there, it's not your typical person off the estate, which a lot of people do. I am bored of this. It's just a black kids off the estate type approach that people have.
Yeah.
Okay. There are people from upper classes. There are people from. I seem to recall there was an incident with a judge's daughter. And caught up in a heroin ring.
Yeah.
It's across the board.
Yeah.
And they get into it because they fall into this debt, and then they're groomed in that respect. So people can fall into it into many different ways. And I make myself unpopular sometimes when I say there are 15, 16-year-old kids out there that know what they're doing and are quite happy doing it.
Yeah.
I know that because I've dealt with them. I'm not saying that it's right in any way, shape or form.
No.
And those that are supplying the drugs to those children need the book thrown at them because it is still a form of exploitation. But there are some kids out there that are quite happy doing it. I'm not, and like I say, it's an unpopular view, and I'm not saying that I agree with that.
No.
100% not. So there's different routes into it, but ultimately the outcome is never good.
No, well, exactly. There's never a good outcome to it. So, I was reading that some of the ways that these gangs will get kids in with them. We're all quite familiar with the term county lines and where they're getting kids to take drugs across different counties and down to where it's easier to get them out. And I was reading that in one case, I don't know if this is within CJ's case, they actually got a police list from Scotland Yard. The gangs actually got hold of it, of a list of gang members from different boroughs. So they knew the names of different gang members from different boroughs and obtained list from police. Not obviously the police didn't give it to them, so they've obviously got it underhand, but they've actually know the names of these kids that are involved. And the gang territory thing is a thing that just blows my mind, because I think you're acting like that because somebody walked into an area that you live in, and it's that important. It's literally you're in the wrong borough, and you can be killed for it.
So the thing with postcodes, so when I do my teaching, I grade them 1 to 4.
Okay.
And what you'll have is, suppose in a level 1 gang, that will be your lowest level antisocial behaviour, kicking around the shops.
Yeah.
And then I refer to your level 4 as actually serious and organised crime groups. That's your drug importers, people bringing stuff into the country.
Yeah.
And then I talk about how they all intertwine. What you'll find is gangs may claim ownership of a territory. And it could be as simple as a simple street. It could be a simple postcode, a full estate. Or if you're, much higher up the chain, it could be a shipping yard. I mean, look at the days of Pablo Escobar, Medellin cartel,
of course, yeah.
and the Cali cartel. When they were exporting their drugs into the US, they had specific ports
Their
they
own
would
ports,
use.
that's right,
And
yeah.
there was almost like a gentleman's agreement in the early days. You leave mine alone, I leave yours alone.
Yeah.
Albeit they were rival cartels.
Yeah.
Bringing that back onto a street level, and I've got to say, when I was kicking her out with my old lot, we were really protective over our estate. Don't ask me why, it's a dump, right?
Yeah.
All right? It's a dump, all right? I went back up there a couple of years ago and I drove through and I was like, oh my days.
We were proud of this one.
But here's the thing, like, we had, people would like come in from like Coventry or whatever and we'd just end up roaring in the street. And I don't get it. I got hit in the face with a brick. I would be walking down the road and a car full of lads would just pull up alongside me and next minute I'm getting a pastings from on my own.
Yeah.
Why? I'm in
Why?
my estate. I don't get it.
No.
I
It makes no
get it.
sense.
I get it if you're in an acquisitive crime gang and it's a case of I'm selling my crack and heroin on these corners, I get that,
Yeah.
and competition tried to move in. Of
course.
I get the violence in that
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
But just living in an area, and I don't get the bond.
No.
I'm 37 years old now. This all started when I was 12, 13. And all these years later, I still don't get it. And
Yeah.
I've ridden round neighbourhoods in the US and seen wooden houses full of bullet holes where drive-bys have taken place, all over postcode business.
And it's just crazy, isn't it?
And
Because you just
it is-
think it's not important in the grand scheme of things. You're taking someone's life for what? For what? What are you doing that for?
The thing with that, and you touched on this earlier, is the travelling into other areas. And one thing that I sort of say to the police and probation services and things like that is, listen, if you are dealing with a gang member, it is no good if you are charging somebody with an offence in one borough or one division and the courthouse being another.
Yeah.
If that person has got to get on a bus to go to court and
Yeah.
travel through that, potentially they're going to get filled with bullets.
Yeah.
I have been at courts where rival gangs have met up because they've been charged with different offences and they're all in the waiting room. And then a riot's kicked off. And I've had to run out of court to go and start splitting people up that are literally trying to knock 10 bars at each other.
Wow.
So things like the job centre. Why haven't you got a job? Well, if I've got to travel into their turf to go to the job centre,
I'm
forget
not
it.
going.
Not
yeah.
happening.
Too
And
right.
I can also touch on that. That's exactly what happened with CJ. He was in from one part of the borough that's touching in another. And I've realised now that because of this gang, that's the side of the gang that is trying to get hold of my son, I'm not wanting him to be there.
Of course not,
But
no.
the school's telling me I have to still send him there. The police are telling me I still need to put him in arm's reach. And I'm saying, so how are we protecting him on his journey? Nothing. We can't do anything. So what do me as a mother do? I was putting him in an Uber to go to that Pru every day. And if then an Uber back.
Yeah.
These are the things that I'm having to do because I want to make sure he feels safe.
Yeah.
But picture him having to go into that area, knowing that he's
Knowing.
got to go in there and he's going to be socialising around people that really could want to harm him.
Yeah.
That, what are we doing to a 13, 14-year-old child?
That's right.
Putting that way of thought practice. But this is what's happening over postcodes. It's really sickening.
And it's, for me, I look at this and it's so preventable. I think it's a preventable thing. We were talking earlier, there's so much paperwork and there's so many things that you look at this and think, there's ways to stop this. There's ways that this can be stopped. And we need to look at it from the early years. You need to identify from primary school, going into secondary school. You need to look at these kids and look at the needs that they've got and stop that first and foremost. But then when you've got a mum coming to you and saying that I need help, I want to move my son. Look, I've done everything I can as a family. We've done everything we can. I've taken him to the right places. I'm telling you, bring me into school. I will discipline my son. And it's
And
like
it still failed him.
It's like failure after failure after failure. And it's so frustrating to look at. And as being involved in it, and unfortunately in your situation, it's ended in the worst possible ending. And I just think that by speaking to you and by you and Martyn, I knew you would be great together, working together, and the work that you've done since you lost CJ. Is so commendable, because I hope that from you two doing what you're doing now, even if it saves just one more family from going through the stuff that you have been through, it's worth every hour you've put in. And you're both absolutely amazing. I'm totally in awe of both of you. I think you're brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I think that in terms of what you just said there with the prevention, I've got to highlight it can be, in the same way recruitment is, extremely complex.
Yeah.
Now, I've been lucky to work with and teach people from the NHS, police officers, probation officers, people who work in prisons, and I've got to say, Okay, I've met a couple of people who've had bad attitudes, but I wouldn't say that I've met anybody who doesn't care. And I think on that personal level, and I've been there where I've had too much work than I can dedicate as much time to a job as I want to. I think on a personal level, these people do these jobs because they want to make a difference.
And
I think where it starts to fall down is lack of resourcing,
lack of money,
lack of people,
the
heavy caseloads. And I've sat on child protection discussions. I've sat on those. I've taken part in them, and then it sort of starts to fall down. It's more a structure side of things. I'd say, rather than a specific individual. And one of the things that I advocate is partnership working, speak to each other. But the problem we've got with the structure of the and I've done work with care homes. The problem is once children start getting taken into care and they start getting moved into different areas, whether it be within, I don't know, it's a different borough within London, or in, there's one case I heard somebody from the south of England sent up into Lincolnshire. It falls down. And there's not enough joined up working. We can prevent this, but it needs serious investment, more joined up working. And that's why I do what I do.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you, because we talked about that together earlier. That's something that I wanted to mention, is the fact that I think when you individually speak to people like yourself and other people, police officers, and you actually speak to the person, not the policeman, you find out that these people, they do care. They do the job because they care. And they don't want to let people down, but the caseloads that they've got and the amount of work that they've got and the pressure and the lack of resources. And people are really quick to go, well, the police were shit. They were rubbish. They were no good. But they've got a lot. I've got to
say, on this is not just a policing problem.
No
single agency is going to crack this.
No. And can I just say something? In working with all the agencies, the only department that I can say that I believe worked well with me was the police. They're the ones that they had a gang team within Newham, and they would because of what's going on in Newham, there's a lot of stop and searches that's happening. So my son got stop and searched twice. They came and knocked on my door to advise me. We stop and search your son twice, and I was just like, okay, why? What's going on? They said because of who they're with, because of who he's with. And I'm like, okay, so can you tell me? No, we can't. Of
course. Yeah.
But I was like, I know a few names. Are these the names? And I said, yeah. So I knew who to look out for. I worked with them. Their hands are tied. They're overstretched. So they're only being given certain guidelines. And again, when we are talking about certain statistics, it is from the factors people passing away. So we're not talking about all these, when we're talking about knife crimes or why children feel scared and why they will carry these things, we're not talking about the situation that police have no involvement with.
No.
They're only talking about the situation where, there was a stabbing, the person's not died, or this person's died. We can't go with those statistics because what's going on in Newham, every last child is in fear. And this is what I'm trying to get across to them. You can't just feel like, because there's no statistic to it, it's not happening.
That's right.
There's so many situations that are occurring that we know none of. And because I'm so vocal and I hear and I speak for the children of Newham all the time, because I really don't want any other child to go through what my son went through. They open up to me and they let me know of what's going on, and I'm just like, okay, well, I can voice that. But me voicing is exactly what I was doing when CJ was alive.
Yeah.
So again, me saying you have all this information, and all I can tell you is there's been failure after failure after failure, and that has got to stop.
Yeah.
And the only way that we can do this, if people like Martyn and myself, we come together, we put a form of a network of understanding that we can get legislation change in certain root aspects, for that. At least they can reach to 18, and then we can say, okay, your mistakes are your own.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know they want to say, okay, we need to deal with them till they're 24. That's another issue. But again, let's get them to the school age of being able to get educated.
Yeah.
Because right now, they're not even able to get that.
No.
Yeah, and there's other side of failings of how there's a gang matrix that got leaked on my son. So to that rival gang. They actually got hold of where my son lived and all these things. I don't know if that was a part of the reason why he's dead.
Yeah.
I have no clue. But these are the things that have been failures to him. I'm not going to sit and dispute or do anything like that. I'm going to do things to not allow those situations to occur anymore. And that's all, like people like myself that are victims and people that have been there and done it. These are the ones that I can say that are truly doing a lot of work. I do not want to say the police are not doing, they are, but they're overworked.
Yeah.
Social services, their turnover's too much. Education, we need training in certain aspects.
Yeah.
They definitely need to know about social media, grooming,
definitely.
learning difficulties. all those trainings, remember we had teacher training day about 6 times a year for the kids. But what are they teaching? What are they learning?
Doing? Yeah.
They're going over the same teachings of before.
That's the stuff that I sort of push now.
Yeah.
And the thing for me, and I just wanted to get this in, I'm not sure what time's like, but there needs to be a bigger appreciation for the trauma when these things go wrong. Because we all know a terrorist attack happens, oh my God, this is really, really bad. But the same traumas applied to victims. I'll tell you now, secondary trauma in my respect, I've given CPR to murder victim in the street. And I've seen a river of blood. And as much as you're pushing, that still stays with me now.
Yeah.
Like my poor other half, quite often I'm striking out in my sleep because of stuff that's happened to me. I've knocked on people's doors and said, listen, you need to come with me. And I've sinned instantly. I've gone there and I've ruined somebody's life.
Yeah.
Because of a moment of madness in the street equals a lifetime of pain. So if anybody's listening to this that is involved in this life, your life gets over. Your family's life, who are innocent parties, your neighbours, your friends, your family, the wider community. Any death like that, the ripple effects are absolutely huge. And do you know what? It's not just the victims of the family victims, those responding to this, the paramedics, everybody. And I've been there where it's a case of I've got somebody deceased in the street and we've run out of tents. It got that bad one day, we ran out of tents in the whole of the force, okay? And it was like, wow, this is happening more and more often now. Violence is being normalised and it just needs to stop. So.
And it's not so much of a shock, I find, nowadays. It's not so much of a shock that a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old has been stabbed.
No.
People don't go, oh my God, and there's a massive Twitter storm that someone's been stabbed. It's not like that anymore. We now go, oh, there's been another stabbing in London. That's
normalised.
And the other side to that those two have happened again in Newham.
Yeah.
And the other side to that is what you've just said, the paramedics, the nurses. I remember when I was in the hospital for 2 days with CJ, and I'm explaining to them who my son was, and when he was actually passing, I weren't in tears because I was just like trying to I don't even know, but I was having an out-of-body experience.
Aren't you?
But they were absolutely in tears because of the situation that I'm going through. When you really look at it, when you think of I'm having to deal with a 14-year-old that's been shot in the head. When I looked at the CT scans, I'm sorry to be so gruesome and about it, he had over 100 pellets left in his head when he was passing. That's the reason why I had to turn off that life support machine. I was being evil to the fact of trying to keep him there. So I'm looking at a death of a 14-year-old child that I have not even seen on television like that. The trauma behind what he just said is so, and everybody that's been affected by that. I'm talking from the nurses to his friends, my son was brought in Sunday school, to the people in church, people that just knew him and taught him, can't believe that that's how he's gone. And we haven't done anything from change from that. How dare we as a society? So I will continue to speak, and again, there is too many children that are facing these issues and feeling like, I may make it to 18. Or we've got the other ones that are saying, how am I the one that's still here? And they're not. I had one of CJ's friends phone me up. It's taken him 4 years. He's 18 now. He said, Auntie, I didn't know how to contact you because I didn't know what to say. I just remember how we was as kids. And I know that it was me, Tyrese and CJ, and we all did everything together. And I remember being in primary school. He said he hasn't watched none of my reports on TV, none of my documentaries, but he remembers CJ was always the one that would get picked out of the 3 of them, and he knows it was him that would have started it. But because of CJ's ADHD, he would be the one that would always singled out. And he goes like, CJ was the guy that would get the girls for us. And he was just that one that was cheeky. But Auntie, I don't know how he's not here. And I said, nor do I, babes. But this just shows you what kind of cruel world we are. Don't look at that. Just look at your life now. And all your friends that you can see that are trying to go down the wrong, you try and give them a little helping hand. Yeah. If you can't help anybody that way. But you keep on doing better for you. We have to encourage them. And for me, just to let him, I had to just be there to be a voice for him, to get all of his memories and everything so he can continue. That I knew I'm a part of his healing now. And that's what is happening to all those children. We need to be a part of their healing so they can continue and we can now grow as a society.
Massively. And one thing that I say, I fully admit that when I was getting away from what I was around, it was tough. I found it really, really hard, but it is doable.
You've done it.
It really is
obviously
doable.
You've done it.
And I say it openly and widely. I say it online, I say it whatever. If anybody ever wants to chat, look me up. I'll
Oh,
quite
that's
happily,
amazing. That's
I'll quite
amazing.
happily say, and I'll quite happily, I'm honest about it. And I'm, you know, when I'm speaking now, knowing how I was back then and knowing how current tactics are and current trends, I make no bones about it. I'll be a county line runner.
Yeah.
I tell you now, if I was having my childhood again now, in the current times,
you'd be living that.
I would have been there, 100%, because people turning up in £100 night pairs of trainers that I couldn't afford for my family.
Yeah.
It's all I ever wanted, you know. And I got grief about that. I'd have been on the train running drugs, and like I say, it's hard to get out, but
you can do
it can be done. And there's several prevention agencies out there.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's two that come to mind, and I know they won't mind me mentioning them. You've got Lennox Rogers down at Refocus in Kent, really good. Former gang member. I think he spent 20 plus years in prison doing various things, now doing some really, really great mentoring stuff through his charity. You've got Darryl Laycock up in Manchester. Again, he was one of Manchester's most prolific gang members when he was released. And he now does some really, really good work. There are plenty of people out there that can help.
And people like yourself and people like Keisha, and I want to thank you both so much for coming to talk to me today. And obviously, if anybody's listening or anybody, you know, needs to speak to you guys, then we can put you in touch. But thank you both so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Cherry, just let me say you did an absolutely amazing job with this episode.
Thank you.
And Keisha was wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful woman. And of course, Martyn was just absolutely fabulous. This was really, really good.
Keisha and I have got this connection. I don't know how it's happened, but we just have this connection. I met her and I knew the moment that I met her that that the connection was right. And the same with Martyn. Martyn is the most fascinating guy. He knows so much and he's so interesting to talk to. And I could have quite easily sat and spoken to them for hours each.
Oh, yeah.
Because the amount of knowledge between the two of them of things that can be changed and how they want things to change and how we can change as a society, they're just at the forefront of this. And like Keisha said in the episode, the police are understaffed. You know, they're under-resourced.
Yeah.
They can't get to everything. They can't cover everything. And they're human beings. When you actually listen to, you know, like Martyn said in the episode, they are human at the end of the day. He has nightmares. I spoke to his wife and he won't mind me saying, and she won't mind me saying, but in his sleep, he screams out, he shouts in his sleep about things that he's seen in his day job. He has given people CPR when their life is leaving them at the scene, and he's had to go and tell their parents that these kids, and they are kids, you know, the kid's no longer with them, you know, over something as stupid as a postcode. I mean, it's just, it needs to change. It really needs to change. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, at 45 minutes, it was not nearly enough for this. I mean, you did a great job with the time restraints, but I mean, this could have been, you could have gone on forever on this, and it was really good. It was a really good listen.
Thank you.
I'm still sad that I missed out on it, but
I know. Yeah, it would have been nice to have you there. Well, we won't. You know, it was supposed to be like that. We were supposed to do it together via video link, but unfortunately, due to the setup of the room, we weren't able to do it. So it was a bit of a shame. But next year,
I think it worked out.
We'll be there together.
Really well, though.
Yeah,
I think it worked
next year
out
we'll
really
be together, and we'll do one together next year if they'll have us doing another live. I think we should.
I hope they would. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. You did such a great job.
Oh,
and I mean, you told me this, that there was not a dry eye in that room at the end.
No, there wasn't. No, we had so many people in watching and listening, and I've had so many messages since saying it was the most emotional thing and it's a privilege to be part of, and how strong Keisha is and how amazing she is. And the thing is, she doesn't even think that. She doesn't see herself as strong, and she is so strong. How she kept going, you know, I'm a mum, you're a dad. How she kept going after losing her child, I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she did, and she's doing great things.
I hope I get to meet her.
Yeah, I hope you do too, because she's lovely.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm.
She really is. Yeah, she really is. Yeah, she's a lovely lady. So that was this week's episode. It's slightly different to what we normally do. We got any more news? I don't think we've got any more news, have we?
No. We do not have any more news. I think that's it.
So we'll be back with Morgan case next week.
We will.
You've got a good case next week. And we haven't got a dumb criminal this week because obviously it's slightly different this week. So we'll be back to normal next week. You can catch us on all our socials in between then and now. And your case suggestions, thank you for your case suggestions. We've had quite a few recently, so that's brilliant. If there's a case you'd like us to cover, just get in touch. You can find us on Instagram. You can email us. You can go through the website if you want to, and we'll happily look into any case suggestions for you. So for now, be nice.
And bye.